ignore this whole situation because I'm just going through it. But I just finished binge watching the first season of them, and I must say that it's exactly what I thought Lovecraft Country was gonna be. I wasn't expecting Lovecraft Country to be, super supernatural and kind of sort of like a sci-fi. But with them, it's still fiction, but I could still believe and see um a lot of those things happening back then, but we just probably, well, not probably, it just isn't really discussed as it pertains to like mentally how black people were affected and probably feel like they were persuaded by their ancestors, and also internal demons and voices in their heads to do certain things that isn't something that seems right. Like when the mom kept saying that, well, not saying, she kept trying to, like, in a way, kill her kids because she felt like that would save them from hell on earth. And I really believe that that could have been a thought that many mothers back then had when it came to their children. Yeah. And another thing was like when Ruby Ruby Lee, she wanted to be white. Um, we never really talk about it, but um, like the whole coon thing and the Uncle Tom thing, black people that genuinely wanted to be white, um, was really a thing back then because they didn't like the way that they were treated and they really felt like white was right. Yeah, in my video where I talked about like the Vince Staples show and how we didn't learn growing up in school about how life was for black people once they moved to the West Coast. I'm glad that this season was based on them living on the West Coast and moving, to Compton, for freedom and better opportunity, and, for the dad to make way with his job, because, and it to show like racism was still a big thing there, because in school we didn't really talk about how life was for black people once they moved to the West. We just talked about westward expansion and left it there. But in a way that made me assume that in the West Coast, like, everything was perfect for them and they didn't have to deal with racism and things like that, which is obviously not true. And I do feel like I should do more research on what life is like was like in the West for black people during those times. Um, yeah, and it was based in Compton, which is, I think, well, I didn't even do my fact checks on this, but I believe, based off what I've heard, it's a majority, um, black dominated area now. But in them, they didn't like that the fact that they had like two black families living in Compton, and yeah. All in all, I really did love them, and I can't wait to start the second season, especially because I already see familiar faces like Pam Grier and Luke James, and I hope, well, I don't hope, I kind of feel like I am going to enjoy the second season. Yeah, them is a lot more realistic and a lot more what I was expecting once I started Lovecraft Country. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Them is great, and I can't wait to finish it. And I thank y'all so much for putting me on.